Coach Z.
Todd, how we doing?
Lost Letterman, baby. Oh man, I am looking forward to this conversation. Tonight we have with us Coach Jake Zehnder, better known as Coach Z. And man, let's just go ahead and get into the conversation. What's going on, Coach?
How are you? How's everything going?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Let me tell you how I found out about you. I was down in, and what we try to do, if you're not too familiar with the Lost Lettermen, is obviously we try to highlight a lot of the stories from days gone in South Carolina, but also we try to highlight a lot of the kids, particularly in high school, who are on their way up. A lot of high school juniors, a lot of high school seniors, and we forge relationships with those people. But I was down in North Augusta, and I was at the, I guess, South Carolina Basketball Coaches Association Live, and I happened to be watching the games, and a person next to me said, "Man, that's the Francis Marion coach right there." I said, "Really? Wow!" And I saw those jewels around your neck. I said, "Man, the other coaches do not have a chance recruiting against that guy. I do not have a chance recruiting against him." But much respect to you, Coach. So tell us about where it all started for you. I believe it's in Southern Florida, Central Florida, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so I had a real roundabout way of getting into this thing. I get people email and call you and they say, "Hey, Coach, how do I get my foot in the door?" And I don't think there's any right or wrong way. Mine was definitely a very abstract way of getting in the business. I had some injuries throughout high school, and fortunately for me, my high school coach really showed me the game in a different light, and I fell in love. And so I knew at an early age that I wanted to coach. And for a doctor, you go to medical school. For a lawyer, you go to law school. But if you want to be a coach, what do you do? And I really had no idea. And so I went up to school and started knocking on doors, and eventually was led into a high school gym, and was fortunate to start coaching freshman high school basketball at the age of 18. I worked for that guy for 2 years. He was let go and bounced around a little bit, got another opportunity at the Rock School in Gainesville, and worked for a great coach in Justin Harden. That led into a junior college opportunity at the College of Central Florida. And, I spent 6-7 years there for Tim Ryan, Hall of Fame coach. We won 20 plus games a year every year there. And the program actually shut down in 2019, which is a really unfortunate situation. But Friday, Saturday night, I get a call. There's a 843 number. And a guy by the name of Gary Edwards gave me a call. He said, "Hey, looking for an assistant coach, and your name keeps coming up." And I said, say the name of the school again, Coach. And he said, "It's University." And I said, "Yeah, okay." He said, let me call you back on Monday, talk to your people. And I did. I talked to a couple people who I trust in this business, and they said, "Hey, go up there, check it out, sit down, talk to them." And before I left the room, I had accepted the position, just felt like home. I thought we could do something special here. And spent 2 years working for him. First year was COVID year. 12-game season, shortened season, we won 4. My second year here as the assistant, we won 9. Going into year 3, he retires. They were really gracious. They gave me an interim tag. We got off to a hot start. Won 14 games, finished 6th in the league. And then last year, my second year as the head coach, won 16 games, finished 4th in the league. So step by step, we're getting a little better every year.
Now, thank you. That's a hell of a story. What kind of player were you?
Not a good one. Not a good one. To tell you the truth, I was a big fish in a small pond. I came from a real small area, St. Cloud, Florida. And, I really thought I had it figured out, man. When you don't play against anybody good, you end up thinking that you're not a bad player, which, can do you a disservice. But I found out pretty quickly, that there's some talented guys out there. My days are probably numbered playing.
Now, I know that you mentioned the Rock School down in Florida. And it's crazy. We had our research department kind of do some research on you and your time down there in at the Rock School. You coached Joel Embiid?
I did, man. I can't say I taught him anything.
Like the first time you saw Joel Embiid.
You just don't know, until you get in front of him. He's the most competitive individual that's ever walked the face of the planet, man. Um, and it was just I was very fortunate to be able to be in the same presence as him, man. But a heck of a player, heck of a human being. He's done great things.
Are you surprised? I mean, obviously, it's hard to ever project anything on anyone, but are you surprised how good he became?
No,
Really?
so competitive, man. Still to this day, the most competitive human. And there was only one other player that I've ever been around that was even close to him, and he's had a heck of a career too. And I think that sets him apart. Just that competitive nature, uh, whatever it was, rock paper scissors. He was gonna force you to play until he beat you. And I think you see that in his game now.
Now, also, you talked about, and it seems like you really cut your teeth or your chops down at College of Central Florida, is it? And that's
Yeah,
a junior college, if I'm not mistaken, right?
yeah, junior college down in Ocala, Florida. We were really successful there. Worked for Tim Ryan. Like I said, won 20 plus games a year there. Every year, we had a ton of success, and he really, I'll give him a lot of credit. He's a veteran coach. He's in the Hall of Fame, and he just gave me a ton of autonomy. And I was a young coach, and I'll be honest, I didn't know what I was doing. But he really just kind of threw me in the fire and kind of let me learn um, by trial and error. And I'm forever grateful to him and for him, allowing me to do that. I still talk to him once a week, man. He's my best friend.
Now, from our research, it looks like Quentin Jackson was obviously one of the studs down there in the JUCO ranks that went on to play in the NBA, and obviously, I think he played at Texas A&M on a Power Five level. But talk about junior college and the junior college player and kind of the junior college grind and what you learned from that grind.
Yeah, yeah. Quentin was a special, special, special player, and we were very fortunate to get him. And the junior college level, I it drives me crazy because I don't think people understand just the type of basketball that is junior college. It's such a high level, but you also don't have the resources or the staff to um, really accomplish everything that maybe some of the other levels are fortunate to be able to do. But I think that's what makes it special. I say this: the junior college guys, you can really count on them because they've done everything. The players, the coaches, like the coaches driving the bus, the assistant coaches, making the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for the pregame meal, and you got players in the back who are trying to give you directions, and that's just junior college. Like you gotta make it work with what you got. And the players, I think there's a camaraderie there because they're all kind of going through this difficult time where they want to be at a higher level, and they're kind of and they're probably more often than not talented enough to play at that level, but either for various reasons haven't gotten the opportunity, and so they're all kind of going through this grind trying to get there. And I think it builds these fosters these relationships that just allow you to have success, man. That's just my belief.
Yeah, I always tell people, at least in my from what I see, the guys in junior college really love playing. Well, most of them love. They still have the passion for playing basketball. And sometimes in college basketball, you got guys who are playing who don't have the passion anymore. They're just playing because they've always played and they're on scholarship. And you can't fake it in junior college, as you just said. You're going to run up against some talented individuals in junior college, and you've got to really be in love with the game, and you can't be faking it. So that's one thing I give you props, and I always give those junior college players props.
Yeah, no, I mean, I mean, I spent 6, 7 years, and there's countless of guys that are still playing professionally. And something popped on my feed the other day, and a kid who we played against, I was like, man, he's still playing. That's great. And I think right now, I think there's 3 or 4 dudes from our league who are still playing in the league. Chris Dorte, I believe, is on a roster, and the kid Keon Ellis out in Sacramento is still on a roster. Quentin plays for Indiana now, so I think there's a handful still that are still making it. But I think with that, just the grind that those guys had to go on when they get to the NBA, they're like, this is nothing new to me, man. I'm starting at the bottom and I'm trying to work my way up.
No, when you talked about the kind of the transition to Francis Marion, did you have any reference for South Carolina basketball and or Francis Marion basketball at that time, and what was it?
Yeah, I couldn't say that I knew too much about Francis Marion. What I will say is that I had a ton of success recruiting in South Carolina, and I think that's probably why I got a phone call. Malik Dunbar, Spring Valley, Beach Island. He ended up playing at Auburn, but I recruited him down to Central Florida. We were very fortunate to have him. He went to Auburn after us. Carlos Dotson, who Spartanburg kid, ended up playing at Western after us. Xavier Barmore, who is a Seneca kid, ended up going to Aiken after us. And I'm missing a couple, but I had a lot of success recruiting up to Waylon Napper, who ended up at Longwood. A good play. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, he I'll tell you, Waylon Napper is the only player in Region 8, the Florida Junior College region, to win Player of the Year as a freshman. Now that's one of the best. That's one of the best leagues in the country. Waylon Napper is the only freshman to ever win Player of the Year in that league as a freshman. One of the best, one of the most highly decorated junior college players to ever come out of that region. And so yeah, we had success recruiting out of the state, and so I think that's maybe why I got a call. And I was just fortunate, to have gotten that call.
Well, you're assistant for 2 years at Francis Marion. Is that correct? Yeah. Obviously, one of them was kind of the COVID year.
Short
around
season.
That time.
Yeah, 12-game season. Yeah.
And it seemed like during those 2 years. Obviously, you guys were 3-11 the first year. I guess that was the kind of the COVID. You only played 14 games, and probably even those 14 games were disjointed somewhat with people sitting down and things of that nature. And then you go 13-15 the next year as assistant. Then you're actually promoted as the head person leaves. You're promoted to the head coach. What's going through your mind? Because I mean, I don't even know how you look young. What's going through your mind when you think about the junior college route? You think about being at the Rock School in Gainesville, but now you move from assistant to head coach. What's going through your mind as you got that promotion and kind of put your stamp on the program?
Yeah, it was definitely a whirlwind, but I'll say this for my former mentors and my former bosses, Tim Ryan, Justin Harden, Jeff Myers, Gary Edwards. Those guys all prepared me. Every day they allowed me to come to work and work as if I was, the head coach in waiting, all of them in their own ways, but all of them gave me something that prepared me to be in this seat. And I'm forever indebted to all 4 of those coaches. I still speak to all of them, but it was a whirlwind. And all I can say is that we kind of just hit the ground running. It happened, and I went in the office and started to get to work. So.
Well, it's one, and since we're not affiliated with anybody, I could tell what we hear. Especially from parents. We're always hearing that the South Carolina, a lot of the South Carolina schools aren't visible and don't look at South Carolina kids. And I know that's actually not true, but it's just kind of what some people like to say. But looking at your roster, they cannot say that about Francis Marion University.
No.
70% of your right now, 70%, or it might be a little bit over 70% of your roster are filled by South Carolina kids. How intentional are you about recruiting the state? And actually, some kids, I believe, don't need to actually stay in South Carolina. They should go to other places. But how intentional are you about being visible and constantly recruiting kids, and not necessarily that they have to go to Francis Marion, but being visible for kids in South Carolina?
Extremely. A couple of those
And
kids
the coaches too. And the coaches too. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we make it a point. If you look at my recruiting board right now, there are 15 names, and all 15 of them are South Carolina kids.
Wow.
If you look at my roster, there's 2 kids on there that'll say North Carolina and Colorado. One of them was back and forth from Rock Hill, South Carolina, which is where I saw him, and the other kid was born in Buford. He's a South Carolina kid as well. So it won't show up on there, but now we're going to make it a priority. The state's going to be a priority. We've made it a priority the last 2 years. Like I just said, my board has 15 names. Every single last one of them is South Carolina kid. It's funny you say that. I was on the phone with my assistant today, and we were talking about something. I said, I got sent this kid, but he's a Georgia kid. Not like we're not interested, but doesn't really fit the bill, quite how we want it to right now. But I mean, we'll recruit if the player is good enough, fits us. We'll recruit anywhere. But the state is that's our bread and butter, and we're out every night. We're out every night. We're somewhere.
Well, and you know what? And I should have rephrased that, said that question differently. I should have said, how intentional are you about building relationships with the coaches in South Carolina? Not that all the kids have to go to Francis Marion, but making sure that you have those relationships with the high school coaches.
Yeah, I think we've done a good job of kind of fostering some really strong relationships within the state. Like I said, we won't. It's probably becoming a little more intentional now because we've really started to hone in on some guys younger. And so now we're starting to maybe recruit them earlier. But I would say, up until even last year, we were going to see everybody. So it wasn't like, hey, I'm not going to name a high school, but they're playing tonight. Let's go see them. It was, hey, we went there already. Let's go see somebody else. Let's make sure we're in everybody's gym. I was in King Street's gym last year. I go, PD. We have a kid on our roster from PD Academy. Like, we're gonna go to see kids, and I think the coaches understand that. And I tell coaches all the time, Coach, if you hit me and you say, hey, Coach, we need you at this game, I will be there. Assuming we don't have a game that night, we practice early in the mornings, so I'll be there that night. And I don't think you're gonna find many high school coaches that say, yeah, he's not in our gym, because we are.
Yeah, you definitely have an inner. I don't know if you have energy, but you have an energy about you when you see you. The other question I'm going to ask you is, how in the world how did you feel when Alex Atkinson signed with you guys? Because I saw him maybe a year or two ago, and I was like, man, that guy's probably going to be a Power 5 player. Man, he's good. So tell us a little bit how excited you are about Alex being on the team, and we'll talk about some of your other players as well.
Yeah, you're probably not wrong, first of all. I would agree with you. Look, I'm a JUCO guy, and my sell's pretty simple. Like, you come here and you do what you need to do. We'll move you on, and if you're excelling, that means we're excelling, man. And hey, look, Kentucky, it's not open, right? And so if it was, and they were calling, like, let's just call it what it is, let's call a spade a spade, I'd take that call.
Right.
And so it's the same pitch to these guys, man. Hey, come in. Let's play a little bit of basketball early on in your career, and let's develop a little bit faster, and let's just see. So the chips fall where they may. Let's see where you end up. And that's been our pitch, man. And so we were on Alex as a sophomore, and Coach English has been phenomenal. And I think he understands the landscape. I think he understands that it's not about the social media. attention and what the optics are of where you end up, but what's best for your future. And I'll be honest with you, I believe the best situation for Alex Atkinson was at Francis Marion University. Um, and so he's going to do great things here. But yes, to answer your question, I was thrilled. I was thrilled to get him, and he's going to be a really, really good player here.
Well, you bring up something there that I really wanted to ask you before I ask you that question. But to me, the landscape of college basketball has changed dramatically in the last 5 years. Some people say it's NIL. I think that's a part of it, but I don't know what the landscape's changed now. And kids probably, sometimes what you're doing is you're recruiting a kid as a partnership and let me help you get to where you think you might want to be. Let me help you this year. Let me help you. Because scholarships have always been, most people don't realize this, scholarships have always really just been a 1-year agreement,
Right.
but now it's just more pronounced.
Right.
And I think, so many times, I actually did this myself. We all have dreams. We all have dreams. And you can fall in love with your dream instead of really falling in love with who wants to help you,
Yeah.
get to where you're going to be. And I think that's kind of what you just said right there in terms of, man, to me, D2, D1, Power 5, regardless, go with someone who really wants you and someone who really wants to develop you. And it seems like that's what you've been very intentional in doing and making sure that you establish these relationships and also make sure that you let kids know, you can come here and we can build together and we can work together. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. We're not handcuffing anybody. We go out, we identify guys that we think fit us and can help us build. And if a situation comes that better fits, then they got our good graces, man. These guys, they got aspirations and dreams, and who are we to kind of hold them back? If they're here, they have success, then that means Francis Marion had success. That means I had success. Without those guys, we don't have that.
Now, Coach, I'm going to put a little pressure on you this year, man. I know your last year as an assistant, you guys were 13 and 15. The next year, your first year as a head coach, you're 500, 14 and 14. Last year, you guys were 15 and 13. And average, man, you guys get up and down the court. Average 86 points a game.
Yeah, we play a really good brand. We play a really fun brand. Anybody that's seen us play, we play a really fun brand. We're very conceptual, and if you watch us play more often than not, last year, the guy that was guarding the 5 was usually the guy bringing the ball up because we give those guys autonomy. You go get one off the glass, it's your show. We actually call it the boss position. If you go get one off the glass, you're the boss, and that's what we call it. And I think guys have fun playing in our system.
With that being said, I'm looking at this roster, and for that style of play, I'm looking at some of these players because I've seen them play. You guys have some talent. I know you don't win games based on the roster and the talent because it takes a lot, but you can lose games with no talent. you guys have some talent on this roster. I mean, and I'm gonna kill this guy. Horatio, is that
Horace Jakes?
Yeah, Horace Jakes. He's a player. He averaged about 11 points a game as a freshman for you.
Talk
about him.
He's a player, capital P, man. This dude, we really just handed the keys over to him as a true freshman, and tougher than a $2 steak. Runs your show. The best thing about him, though, is, and it's something that a lot of guys, you can't teach and they don't have in them, is, we'll let him go down. He'll throw one in the stands. And, the team's like, yo, why are you keeping him in the game? Because on the other side, I mean, he's a menace, man. I mean, he'll guard your other team's best player. He's got that competitive fire that we kind of talked about early on. He's a joy to be around. Practices hard every day. We're very fortunate to have him here.
So it sounds like you let your guys play with a little bit of freedom, if they've earned that freedom.
Yeah, you have to be able to earn it. There was a short period about halfway through the season that I sat Horace for 2 games. Some things, he was going through he had some success early on, and then he hit a little road bump, and I yanked him for 2 games, and it tells you just his character. He was a great teammate. Came in my office after that game. He said, "Look, if you need me to sit on the bench the rest of the year, that's what I'm gonna do. But I want to play, and I'll do whatever it takes to play." And I think we gave him a few minutes in that next game, and the rest is history.
Now, TJ Bell from Westwood is down there as well. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah, he's got a little Horace Jakes in him. He's got a little dog in him. That's a cool story about a kid because I had seen him grow up, and I'll be honest with you, every time I saw him, it was either with Conyers was there, or he played on his AAU team, and I didn't love his game when he played for Upward. And no, that's no offense to those guys. I love those guys, but for some reason his role was different. And so I talked to Trent, and Trent and I are close, and he's like, "Hey, just come see him in my gym. Just come see him in my gym." So I go over there and fell in love. And it only takes one time. If you go see a kid for the first time and he leaves a bad taste in your mouth, it's really hard to get that taste out of your mouth. Right. But if you go and you see him, and there's some things, and then you see him again and you like him a little more, then it's easier to kind of fall in love with him. So I love TJ Bell. He's going to be phenomenal, and he's built the way I want our guys to be.
And is Jordan Simpson at Francis Marion now?
Jordan Simpson's here. Yeah, Jordan Simpson, who I believe Francis Marion was his second offer. I believe Claflin was one, if I'm not mistaken, right there in his hometown of Orangeburg. I believe I came right behind him and offered. And it's just very fortunate, because I think we kind of developed a relationship throughout that recruiting process, and for whatever reason, state didn't work out. And it's funny, he hits the portal and I'm sitting in my computer and I'm refreshing and Jordan Simpson pops up, and so I grab my phone. And I learned this a few years ago: you don't ever delete numbers. Never. Right. You leave them in your phone.
You're always recruiting. Always recruiting.
Always. I pulled up my phone. I said, "Jake, you better hope you didn't delete his number." So sure enough, I type in Jordan's name, and there it is. So I call him, and he picks up. I say, "Jordan." He said, "What's up, Coach?" I said, "Am I the first one to call?" He said, "Coach, I just left the compliance director's office." So we got on him. We got on him right when he hit the portal. We were the first call, and he's going to be phenomenal. I love it. I just talked to him this morning. He's going to be great for us.
And he did well at state. So let me ask you this, Coach, because a lot of parents actually, I think this would be helpful for a lot of parents.
Yeah.
When you go see a kid in the AAU environment, what do you look for?
I'll be honest, like, I don't need you to score. And so I'm really looking at mannerisms. I saw a kid, this is the truth. I saw a kid this year, good player. And some things didn't go his way, and they were down a little bit. His coach subbed him out. And AAU event, there's like tons of chairs usually right there. And so the kid went over, untied his shoes, took his shoes off, and then laid down on the bench. Mind you, like I'm talking feet and everything now. And I kind of liked the kid. I thought he was tough. I thought he played hard. He did that, and I was like, man, I can't have my president will fire me if he comes out of the game, he unties his shoes and lays down. I'll lose my job. So I'm just I want to see how your mannerisms are. I know that sounds cliche, but I want to see how your demeanor is when things don't go your way. If you can be really good when you're really bad, I mean, I'm talking about your face and your body language and how you approach your coaches and your teammates and your mom. Like I saw a kid this year in an AAU event, and his mom was like trying to get him like a Gatorade or something. And he's like, "Mom, leave me alone. I don't want it." And I'm like, "Come on, bro. Like, she's trying to help you now." So just mannerisms. What's your demeanor like? How do you carry yourself? Like I said, um, can you can, how good can you be when things are bad? What are your mannerisms like?
Yeah, and I'll say that the converse of that is, at least this is just my opinion. Um, when I look at kids, not that I'm evaluating the same way you are, but I also want to see some aggression too, because I always say this a million times. I'd rather someone who I got to bring down in
Yeah,
terms of aggressiveness than someone that I've got to bring up, because typically when you're bringing somebody up, when you're gone, they're gonna come right back down. So, how important to you is kind of a lot of people just call it the dog, or to
yeah.
see somebody who has that intensity but understands how to harness that intensity in the proper ways when they're playing.
I think Caleb Wilson's a good example of that. Caleb, Andrew Jackson kid, and probably not the
Mhm.
flashiest kid in South Carolina. Some people probably wonder why we took him, but I'll tell you this: um, competitor. Again, like, you're not going to find many kids that compete like Caleb Wilson competes. Every possession seems like it might be the last possession of his career, and that's why we recruited him. And so, to your point, if you kind of go through the motions and it's just an AAU game. I'm gonna get another one. Well, you're not my guy. Maybe you're somebody's guy. And there's some really good players like that, but they're not for Francis Marion.
How different is it, or is it different, recruiting a player at a high school game as opposed to recruiting a player at an AAU game?
Completely different, I guess, because you don't have when you go to a high school game, you know, I'm gonna sit over there. I'm gonna find the janitor and be like, "Yo, what you think of this kid, man? I want to see how he treated the janitor." It's I can get a lot of intel there, right? I can go talk to the opposing team's fans that have already seen him play once or twice. I can hear how other people are talking about him. When you go to an AU event, I think it's different. There's probably not a lot of familiarity between the people around, so you're really just getting to watch and kind of evaluate. Like, if I go to a high school game, I would say more recently than maybe the last 2-3 years. But if I go now, I'm probably going because the kid is potentially good enough.
Right.
The AAU event, like, I'm sitting in the gyms all day. Now I'm usually following South Carolina kids, but I think that's the difference, is that it's a little more intimate at the high school games.
Well, I guess how aware are you that your personality gives you such an advantage? Because I'll be honest with you, if I looked at 10 coaches, not before they start talking, if I looked at 10 coaches, and I'm a high school kid, not 50 years old, but if I looked at 10 coaches as probably a 15 to 16-year-old, and you were there and 9 other guys, and I see you with those chains and the way, not even the jewels, but the way you carry yourself, I'm gonna at least give you the benefit of the doubt, and I'm gonna say, man, let me try with this guy. How aware are you that the way you carry yourself in a positive way is a lot different than kind of the status quo a lot of the coaches that they're actually going to be recruited by?
Yeah, I'm a little different, and I know
Mhm.
that, and that's not news to me, and that's okay. I kind of, I do things a little differently, and but that's just who I am, and I think guys can respect that. I think they know that there is a truthfulness about who I am, and how I approach.
Well, what you know, the way I'm just going to call it a spade. The way I think it's genuine with you. When I looked at you, I said that's genuine. I see some high school coaches like rocking Jordan threes and Jordan fours, and it doesn't look right. And I'm like, it just doesn't look genuine. It doesn't look genuine at all. So I definitely appreciate your style, and really, I appreciate the fact that you're out trying to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward for Francis Marion. And coach, you have developed, or you've put together a really, really good roster there. And I know you guys are going to do really good things. How excited are you about this upcoming season?
We're thrilled. People always tell you to, sell low and deliver high. But to your point, I think if you look at our roster,
No, you got talent.
yeah, we're not going to fool anybody. But nobody's ever won anything in June or July, so we still gotta roll up our sleeves and we got to get to work. But I think we got the group who is ready to embrace that. Like I said, with some of those young guys who've been in the program for a couple of years back, and some of these new additions who there's already some familiarity between players and our staff. We're very excited. Myself and my two assistants, Patrick Paul and Alex Burge, those two guys, I'm sure you've seen guys out. We're really excited.
Yeah, and I definitely want to give your two coaches a shout out, because you see a lot of coaching staffs, and you got maybe 4 guys on the staff, or 4 people on the staff, I should say. And I know you've got 2 there, and I actually saw one of them down in North Augusta. You guys are working. You guys are working, and you guys are going, not only in South Carolina, obviously, but through various states, and making sure that the Francis Marion brand is getting exposure, and people are finding out about it. But my last question for you is, with this group that you have, and the way college basketball has changed, it's almost like you are in a continuous state of recruiting. It really, really never stops. And I guess the biggest thing that you can do is have a solid brand, and kind of the brand kind of recruits for you. How difficult is it for you to never have kind of a finish line? It's like you're always kind of recruiting. Obviously you guys have a great roster this year. Next year, who knows what that roster is going to look like? How hard is it to always be kind of in a state of, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? Or do you try to stay in the present?
Yeah, no, I mean, if it was easy, everybody would do it. I'm not married. I don't got kids. Me and P, we're living the dream. That's my sister. Me and P, we're single and we're married to the game, man. And this is what we do. And, I think right now the roster is really, it's in a healthy place. But to your point, you don't know what it looks like moving forward. I would think that a couple of those transfers that we got, once they see the success that they're going to have, which they will, we will put them in position to be successful, and they have the talent to do so. I hope that they decide that this is a place for them. But like you said, some of those younger guys are going to have some success, and they're going to have some other things pop up. And we'll address those when the time comes. We've got a list of names, and we feel very good about most of them. So, we'll kind of address those things when they pop, but we're good.
I would assume that that's actually, just as an example, if I come to Francis Marion, if I'm a freshman, sophomore, whatever, and I ball out, and I go somewhere else, and you help me get somewhere else the next year, that's actually a good thing for the program, because it develops a really strong pipeline.
It is,
and that's the best recruiting pitch you can have. Like, look, it can be done.
Yes, it is, and
it's not a bad thing staying at Francis Marion for 4 years, getting a good degree, and figuring out, whatever you want to do in life.
You figure out what the best is for you. We had a kid come and he had 0 offers out of high school. We brought him in as we have a developmental program here. We actually brought him in as a developmental player. And by the time the season started, this is with my old boss, we said, hey, we got to bring this kid up. We brought him onto the varsity team. By January, he was a full-time starter. By March, he was a scholarship kid. He was freshman of the year in the league. After his sophomore season, he moved on, went to a Division I, and he's had success there. So, that's something that we're open to. And then you got the other side of it, like you said, Dietrich Browning comes here. That was before my time, but Dietrich Browning spent 4 years. He's the all-time leading scorer in Peach Belt history, all-time leading scorer here. He's got his jersey retired, and the kid's like 8 years pro, just won MVP and won the league. Right. So there's multiple ways to do it. You just got to figure out what the best route for you is, and whatever that is, we're going to help you. I mean, that's what we're here for. And if you're having success, we're having success.
Well, Coach, man, thank you so much for joining the Lost Letterman. Next time, I don't want to get into gyms too often, but next time I'm in the gym and I'm in the gym with you, I will definitely make sure that that we shake hands and
Absolutely.
congratulate each other in the right way. But and obviously, if there's anything that we can do on this side, just let us know.
Likewise, we hope we can get you out to a game this year. We'd love to see you. And I appreciate you having me on. Anything that we can do to help, if there's something, somebody you need to see, we'll be more than happy to get out there.
Florence, here I come.